Your life doesn't change when the clock strikes midnight. It changes the moment you start thinking differently. Everything you do, every habit you form, every result you get, it all begins with a thought. Most people don't realize just how powerful their thinking really is. They go through life reacting, doubting, worrying, never stopping to ask, what kind of thoughts am I feeding my mind every day? Because here's the truth. You become what you think about, not what you hope for, not what you wish for, but what you truly dwell on consistently. Your thoughts shape your beliefs shape your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. Today I'm going to walk you through some of the most powerful ideas that can help you take control of your thinking on purpose. You're going to learn how to plant better thoughts, how to protect your mental environment, how to shift your mindset toward growth, courage, and gratitude, and how to finally align your thoughts with the life you truly want. This isn't theory. This is the foundation for every lasting change. You don't need a miracle, you need a better mindset. And the good news is, you can build it, starting today. Stay with me for the next few minutes as I show you exactly how to reshape your thinking so your life can follow. Let's dive in. Number 1, the power of dominant thought. What you think about all day long has a direction. It has power. And whether you realize it or not, your dominant thoughts are taking you somewhere every single day. You're building your life around what your mind is most focused on. That focus, that repeated internal message. It creates momentum, and that momentum either builds you up or tears you down. You see, the mind doesn't sit idle. It's always working, always building, always shaping. If you're not intentionally directing it towards strength, success, courage, and growth, then by default, it begins to drift. It picks up fear, doubt, worry, and limitation. That's the danger of leaving your thinking on autopilot, because dominant thoughts become beliefs, and beliefs become behavior, and behavior becomes your lifestyle. If your dominant thoughts are about how hard life is, how unlucky you are, how other people have it easier, you start living out that script. You start pulling back. You stop trying. You settle. But when your dominant thoughts shift toward purpose, discipline, resilience, and vision, your whole energy changes. You act with confidence. You make better choices. You pursue things that matter. That's the power of it. Not just thinking once, not just a moment of motivation, but a consistent pattern of thought that runs deep into your subconscious. That's when your identity starts to shift. So the first question you need to ask yourself is simple. What's been dominating my mind lately? Be honest. Track it. Because whatever occupies your thinking most wins. And here's the good news. You can change it. You can start feeding your mind stronger thoughts. Thoughts that serve you, guide you, stretch you. But it takes awareness and repetition. The more you repeat empowering thoughts, the more they take root. Think of it like this. Your dominant thought is the compass of your life. It decides your emotional state, your confidence, your energy, your results. If you want to change your direction, you've got to change that compass. You've got to feed it better data, better beliefs, and you have to do it daily. So from today, be intentional. Choose thoughts that pull you forward, not hold you back. Because what dominates your thinking eventually dominates your life. Number 2, plant better thoughts. Your mind is like a field. Whatever you plant in it grows. It doesn't judge the seed. It doesn't question whether the thought is good or bad. It simply takes what you give it and starts growing it with repetition and attention. That's why if you plant negativity, you get more negativity. If you plant fear, you get more fear. But if you plant strength, gratitude, discipline, and possibility, you begin to harvest a very different kind of life. Most people don't realize they're walking around with fields full of weeds, thoughts they didn't even choose, planted by parents, teachers, the media, toxic people. And those weeds grew quietly, slowly, but powerfully. You don't notice them until you realize you're constantly anxious, doubtful, insecure, or stuck. That's when it hits you. You didn't take control of what you were planting. But the beautiful truth is, no matter how many weeds are in your garden, you can begin today to plant something better. And it starts with one strong thought. I choose what grows in my mind. That's the turning point. You begin to become the farmer of your own future. When you wake up, you don't just grab your phone and let the world tell you how to feel. You take 5 minutes to plant the thought. I am in control today. I am responsible. I am focused. I can do hard things. You repeat it, you believe it, you let it take root, and you do it again tomorrow, because the mind responds to consistency. Don't underestimate small seeds. A simple, powerful thought repeated over time can change how you see yourself, how you speak, how you show up. But it only works when you plant it on purpose. You can't leave this up to chance. You have to pull the weeds. You have to feed the soil. You have to choose which thoughts stay and which ones go. It's not about fake positivity. It's about intentional thinking, purposeful thought. It's about taking ownership of the one thing you have complete control over: your mindset. You can't control traffic, people, or the economy, but you can control what grows in your mind. That's your field, and if you take care of it, it'll take care of you. So ask yourself, what am I planting every morning? What thoughts am I watering throughout the day? And most importantly, what harvest am I expecting from those seeds? Because you can't expect peace if you keep planting chaos. You can't expect confidence if you keep feeding yourself self-doubt. Starting today, make the commitment. Plant better thoughts. Protect them. Repeat them. And in time, you'll begin to see a whole new world grow from within. The kind of life that starts from one powerful decision to take control of what grows in your mind. Number 3, think big to live big. You can't live a giant life with tiny thoughts. It just doesn't work that way. Everything you do, how you walk, how you talk, how you show up, starts with how you think. And if your thinking is small, limited, fearful, or average, your life will reflect exactly that. Because small thinking leads to small actions, and small actions produce small results. Some people never rise above the level of survival, not because they aren't capable, but because they've never allowed themselves to think beyond it. They tell themselves, I'm just trying to get by, or I just want to make it through the week. And what happens? They keep getting just enough to survive, never breaking through, never thriving. Not because of fate, but because of focus. Here's the truth. No one is born with big thinking. It's developed. It's chosen. It's a decision you make when you realize that playing small isn't noble. It's just safe. And safety doesn't lead to fulfillment. Growth does. Progress does. Impact does. But none of that happens until you allow yourself to think bigger than your current situation. Big thinking doesn't mean arrogance. It means vision. It means you stop thinking only about the next bill, the next weekend, or the next problem. And you start thinking about purpose, legacy, contribution. You start asking yourself bigger questions. What's possible for me? Who could I become if I committed for 1 year? What kind of impact could I make if I stopped shrinking to fit in? Thinking big stretches your mind. And when your mind stretches, it never goes back to its old size. It begins to demand more from you. Not in a burdensome way, but in an inspiring one. You start waking up with intention instead of anxiety. You stop settling for good enough and start reaching for what's possible. But here's the catch. Big thinking feels uncomfortable at first because it challenges your current identity. It makes you confront your habits, your circle, your excuses. That's where most people back down. They say, this feels too much, and they retreat. But the few who push through, that's where real growth begins. That's where life starts to expand. You have to train your mind to think bigger every day. Read books that stretch you. Listen to voices that elevate you. Surround yourself with people who make you raise your standards. The size of your thinking will determine the size of your results. Every time. So if you want to live big, you've got to start thinking big. Stop shrinking your dreams to match your reality. Start expanding your thoughts to create a new reality. Because the ceiling on your life isn't set by your potential. It's set by your thinking. And once you lift that ceiling, you'll realize there was never really a limit. Number 4, choose courage over fear. Fear is a thought, just like courage. The only difference is which one you choose to feed. Most people don't realize how often they let fear run the show. It doesn't always look like panic or terror. It often shows up quietly. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. And here's the thing. If you don't confront those thoughts, they start to guide your decisions. They shrink your world. They keep you stuck. But courage lives in the same place, your mind. It starts as a whisper, just like fear. It says, try anyway. It says, you might fall, but you'll grow. It says, do it scared. And if you listen to it, if you give it space, it begins to grow louder, just like fear does, if you keep feeding it. Here's what most people don't understand. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward, even when fear is present. Fear says, what if I lose? Courage says, what if I win? Fear says, they'll laugh at me. Courage says, let them. I'm still going. It's a mental choice. a daily choice. And every time you choose courage, you get a little stronger. You don't need a fearless life. You need a fearless mindset. And that begins with what you tell yourself in the quiet moments. When you're about to step into something new, when you feel resistance, when the what-ifs creep in, that's the moment where you choose which voice to believe. And whichever voice you listen to grows. Fear wants you to play small. It wants you to avoid risk, avoid discomfort, avoid change. But everything you want, confidence, growth, fulfillment, it's all sitting on the other side of that discomfort. You can't have both comfort and transformation. You have to choose. And that choice begins in your thinking. So train your mind to lean into fear, not away from it. Reframe it. When your brain says this feels scary, say that means it's probably worth doing. When fear says you can't, respond with, watch me. Don't run from the nerves. Use them. Let them fuel your preparation, your discipline, your action. Remember, the mind believes what you tell it most. If you constantly say, I'm scared, your brain accepts that. But if you train yourself to say, I'm ready, even when you're nervous, your brain begins to believe that too. Courage is a muscle, and you grow it through repetition. One bold thought, one brave decision at a time. So don't let fear shape your life. Let courage take the wheel. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing, because the life you want doesn't belong to the fearless. It belongs to those who feel the fear and choose courage anyway. Number 5, rewrite your inner story. There's a story you've been telling yourself for years. It plays quietly in the background of your mind. So quietly that most days you don't even notice it, but it's there. Shaping your confidence, dictating your choices, influencing how you react when things get tough. And here's the truth. If that story is built on doubt, insecurity, or limitation, it will hold you back no matter how hard you try to move forward. That inner story matters more than people realize. Because no matter how much motivation you listen to, no matter how many goals you set, if your internal narrative says, I'm not good enough, I never finish what I start, or people like me don't win, you'll keep sabotaging your own progress. Not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because your mind is trying to stay consistent with your story. The good news? That story is not set in stone. You can rewrite it. You can decide starting today to change the way you speak to yourself. It begins with awareness. Catch the old lines when they show up. Listen to the phrases you say when you make a mistake, when you're tired, when things don't go your way. Because in those moments, the real story reveals itself. Then comes the rewrite. Start inserting new language. I may not be perfect, but I'm capable. I've failed before, but I'm learning. I'm not behind, I'm building. Say it often. Say it out loud. At first, it might feel forced, but with repetition, it starts to stick. And the more it sticks, the more it becomes your new truth. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about choosing a story that empowers instead of limits you. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. You've learned, you've grown. So why keep carrying the same script that was written during your worst days? Tear it up. Replace it with something stronger, something aligned with who you want to become, not who you used to be. And remember, every action you take is reinforcing the story you believe. So take action that aligns with your new narrative. If your new story is, I'm a disciplined person, then show up for yourself today, even in a small way. If your story is, I finish what I start, then stay with the process 1 more hour, 1 more day. That's how the new script takes hold, not just by thinking it, but by proving it to yourself. So if you've been living with a story that's kept you stuck, it's time to pick up the pen and write something better. Not someday, now. Because the most powerful transformation you'll ever make begins in the story you believe about yourself. And you have the power to change it. 1 thought, 1 word, 1 day at a time. Number 6, protect your mental diet. Your mind is a lot like your body. It becomes what you feed it. If you eat junk every day, your energy crashes, your focus fades, your health declines. The same thing happens with your thinking. If you're constantly feeding your mind with gossip, drama, negativity, and noise, you can't expect it to produce clarity, confidence, or creativity. That's why your mental diet matters more than most people ever realize. Every video you watch, every conversation you entertain, every scroll through social media, it's all going into your mental system. And just like food, it either fuels you or drains you. You can't expect to think clearly if your mind is cluttered. You can't expect to grow if all you feed your brain is shallow content, criticism, and chaos. You have to protect your mind the same way an athlete protects their body. Be honest with yourself. What are you letting in? What shows are you binge watching? What voices are you listening to every morning? What headlines are you feeding your thoughts with before bed? Most people spend more time cleaning their kitchen than cleaning their thinking. But if your mind is full of garbage, your life will reflect it. That's not an insult. It's a warning. The great thing is, you have full control over what you consume. You don't have to absorb everything that's thrown at you. You can turn it off. You can mute the noise. You can unfollow what no longer serves your growth. Start being intentional. Feed your mind with books that stretch your thinking. Listen to voices that speak life, not fear. Watch content that inspires you, educates you, uplifts you. Surround yourself with people who push you to think bigger, not smaller. Protecting your mental diet doesn't mean you live in a bubble. It means you live on purpose. It means you don't just let anything take root in your mind. You filter, you discern, you choose. Because if you don't, the world will choose for you. And the world doesn't always have your growth in mind. Your energy, your focus, your direction, they're all affected by what you're taking in every single day. That's why some people can't move forward. It's not because they lack drive. It's because their mind is so overloaded with junk they don't even realize how much it's slowing them down. So starting today, treat your mind like the high-performance machine it is. Be selective with what you let in. Guard it like you would guard your most valuable possession, because it is. When your mind is clean, sharp, and well-fed, everything else becomes easier. Decisions, discipline, creativity, confidence, they all rise. And it all starts with what you allow to enter. Choose wisely. Feed your mind the thoughts that will carry you forward, not the ones that will hold you down. Number 7. Visualize, then materialize. Everything you've ever created in your life, every goal reached, every obstacle overcome, it all started in one place, your mind. Before it became real, it had to be seen. That's the power of visualization. And most people are already using it, just in the wrong direction. They visualize the worst-case scenarios. They imagine rejection, failure, embarrassment, and without realizing it, they're mentally rehearsing defeat before they even begin. But the mind doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. If you keep picturing yourself losing, quitting, or failing, guess what happens? Your actions start lining up with that mental picture. You hesitate, you self-sabotage. You don't push as hard. Not because you can't win, but because you never saw yourself winning in the first place. Now flip that around. What happens when you start picturing success in detail? When you see yourself calm under pressure? When you imagine yourself showing up with confidence, finishing the race, giving the speech, closing the deal, living the life? Suddenly the mind has a new target. And when the mind has a clear target, the body follows. Your posture changes. Your tone sharpens. Your energy rises. Because you've already seen it, you've rehearsed it. Visualization isn't fantasy. It's mental conditioning. Athletes use it before games. Speakers use it before stepping on stage. Successful people use it before big decisions. They see it first in their mind, then they go out and make it happen. And you can do the same. Start small. Every morning, take 2 minutes. Close your eyes. See the day ahead going right. See yourself focused, disciplined, on time, productive. See yourself handling stress with calm, speaking with clarity, walking with confidence. Don't just think it, see it. And not just what you want to do, but who you want to be while doing it. That's the real magic. Visualization isn't about just creating outcomes. It's about shaping identity. But here's the key. Don't just visualize and sit back. Let the vision drive you into action. Because the clearer you see it, the more likely you are to move toward it. And when challenges come, and they will, you don't panic. You've already seen yourself getting through it. You've rehearsed resilience. You've practiced success. So if you've been using your imagination to picture worst-case outcomes, it's time to reclaim that space. Turn it into a tool for victory, not fear. Create the mental movie of who you want to be, where you want to go, how you want to live. Watch it in your mind until it becomes familiar, until it becomes real. Because if you can see it clearly and believe it deeply, you're already halfway there. Visualize with intention, and then move toward that vision. That's how you stop hoping for success and start creating it. Number 8, upgrade your circle. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you rise to the level of your environment. And nothing shapes your thinking more quietly and more powerfully than the people you spend the most time with. Your circle is like a mirror. It reflects your standards, your energy, your beliefs. If you're surrounded by people who complain, make excuses, play small, you'll find yourself doing the same without even noticing. Now, this isn't about judging people or cutting everyone off. It's about being aware. It's about asking yourself a simple but serious question. Do the people around me encourage growth, or do they enable comfort? Because you can't grow and stay comfortable at the same time. And you certainly can't think big while you're swimming in small talk, gossip, and drama. Look closely. Are you having conversations that challenge your thinking? Are you surrounded by people who talk about goals, discipline, and progress? Or is your circle more about distractions, entertainment, and what's going wrong in the world? You see, the tone of your circle becomes the tone of your mind. If you want to elevate your thinking, you've got to elevate your environment. Now, here's the truth. Not everyone will like your growth. The moment you start thinking differently, setting new standards, being more intentional, some people will feel uncomfortable, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your discipline challenges their comfort. That's okay. You're not leaving people behind to be better than them. You're doing it to be better for yourself. And eventually you'll inspire others to rise too. Upgrading your circle doesn't always mean finding millionaires or gurus. Sometimes it means spending more time with people who are simply hungry. People who want more out of life. People who speak with purpose and live with passion. People who challenge you, support you, and remind you of what you're capable of. And when you can't find those people in person, find them in books. Find them in audio. Learn from their mindset, even if they're not sitting across from you. You become like the people you listen to. So choose wisely. Guard your time. Choose conversations that feed your future, not just your feelings, and understand this. Your circle is not just a reflection of where you are, it's a preview of where you're going. If you want to go higher, you've got to surround yourself with people who expect more from themselves and from you. So take inventory, get honest, then make changes. Slowly, intentionally, one upgrade at a time. Because when your circle stretches your thinking, your whole life stretches with it. And that's when real growth begins. Not just in what you do, but in how you think, believe, and show up every single day. Number 9, move from thought to action. Thinking is powerful. It's the spark that starts everything. But let's be clear, thinking alone doesn't change your life. You can read all the books, set all the goals, visualize every outcome, and listen to motivation all day long. But until you move, until you act, nothing changes. Thought without action is like a car with no gas. Looks great, feels exciting, but it's not going anywhere. There's a trap many fall into. It's the trap of overthinking. You come up with a plan, then another plan, and then a backup plan to the backup plan. But all the planning in the world means nothing without motion. You don't need a perfect plan. You need action. Because action is what teaches you. It gives you feedback. It builds confidence. You can't learn to swim by reading about water. You have to get in. Here's the thing. Your mind starts believing in your thoughts when it sees you backing them up with behavior. You say, I want to be disciplined. Then you wake up early, even when you're tired. That action proves the thought. You say, I'm going to start this project. Then you sit down and do it, even if it's messy. That action begins to shift your identity. Action creates momentum, and momentum makes the next step easier. Most people sit around waiting to feel ready. But here's the truth. You act your way into readiness. You don't wait for the right mood. You create it. You move first, and the motivation follows. It's not the other way around. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you're sending a message to your brain. This is who I am now. And the more you reinforce that with repetition, the more your thinking starts to align. It's a beautiful cycle. Thoughts lead to action, and action reinforces thought. But it all begins with that first step. So ask yourself, what's one thing I've been thinking about too long? What's one decision, one habit, one task you've been delaying, waiting for the perfect time? That time is now, not next week, not when the stars align. Now, because action doesn't require perfection. It requires commitment. And don't worry about the pace, fast or slow. Progress is progress. What matters is that you're building the muscle of follow-through. The more you act, the more capable you feel. And the more capable you feel, the more you act. That's how people change their lives. Not by thinking forever, but by daring to move. So don't just be a thinker, be a doer. Let your thoughts inspire action, not delay it. Because the only way to build a life worth living is to think it, believe it, and then go out and do it, day by day, step by step, with purpose. Number 10. Let gratitude lead. Gratitude isn't just about feeling good. It's about thinking right. When your thoughts are filled with lack, frustration, or comparison, your entire outlook shifts into scarcity mode. You start believing you don't have enough, that you're behind, that someone else's success somehow means less for you. That kind of thinking steals your peace, drains your energy, and clouds your judgment. But when you let gratitude take the lead, everything changes from the inside out. Gratitude brings your focus back to what's working, and what you focus on grows. When you begin to see your progress, your opportunities, your small wins, even in the middle of struggle, you shift from, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What can I learn from this?" That shift in thinking opens the door to clarity, perspective, and power. Now here's the important part. Gratitude is not about ignoring your problems. It's not pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to see the good, even when life isn't easy. It's about training your mind to find value in the process, not just the prize. That's what makes you mentally strong. Not what you go through, but how you think about what you go through. Gratitude quiets the noise in your head. It silences comparison. It breaks the cycle of negativity. It reminds you that even if you're not where you want to be yet, you're on your way. And that's something worth appreciating. Start making it a habit. Every morning, before the rush, take a moment to name 3 things you're grateful for. Keep it simple. Your health, a roof over your head, a second chance, a lesson learned. Do it consistently. And don't just think it, feel it. Let it settle in your chest. Let it anchor your thoughts before the world pulls you in 100 directions. And when things go wrong, and they will, that's when gratitude becomes even more powerful. Because that's when you get to choose your response. Do you spiral into frustration? Or do you stop, breathe, and say, "Even now I can find something good"? That's mental toughness. That's leadership of the mind. When gratitude leads, your entire mindset upgrades. You become more focused, more patient, more grounded. You stop chasing happiness and start seeing it in the present moment. You stop needing more to feel fulfilled because you've already acknowledged what you have. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a strategy. It sharpens your thinking, lifts your mood, and keeps your heart aligned with your highest values. So don't let it be a once-in-a-while emotion. Make it a daily decision. Lead with it. Lean into it. Let gratitude shape your thoughts, your words, your actions. Because when you operate from a grateful mind, you unlock a kind of strength the world can't shake. And that kind of thinking, that's the beginning of a truly rich life. Number 11. Train your mind daily. Your mind is like a muscle. If you don't train it, it gets weak. If you don't challenge it, it becomes lazy. And just like your body, it doesn't grow stronger by accident. It grows stronger through discipline, repetition, and effort. Every single day, your thoughts are either working for you or against you. That's why you can't leave your mindset up to chance. You've got to train it on purpose. Too many people wake up and let the day take control. They scroll through bad news, get hit with distractions, deal with people's negativity. And by noon, they're wondering why they feel anxious, unmotivated, or defeated. It's not random. It's the result of an untrained mind reacting to everything around it. But when you take just 10 to 15 minutes every morning to center your thinking, to set your focus, to feed your mind something positive, you step into the day prepared, not panicked. Mental training isn't complicated. It can be as simple as reading 1 page from a powerful book, writing down your goals, saying your affirmations, practicing silence, visualizing your next step, reviewing your progress. It doesn't take hours, but it does take intention. You can't expect a sharp mind if you're feeding it junk. And you can't expect mental toughness if you never put your mindset under pressure. There are going to be days when it's hard, days when you don't feel like doing it. But those are the most important days to show up, because consistency beats motivation. That's the real training, doing it when it's boring, when it's uncomfortable, when no one is watching. That's when the real mindset gains are made. And just like with physical training, you won't always see the results right away. But give it time, stay with it, keep showing up. You'll begin to notice that you don't get thrown off by little things as easily. You recover faster from setbacks. You speak to yourself with more belief. You handle stress with more poise. That's the reward of a trained mind. It doesn't panic under pressure. It responds with purpose. If you're serious about building a better life, you have to be serious about building a better mindset. And that doesn't happen once a month. It happens daily. One thought at a time, one choice at a time, one disciplined practice at a time. So make the decision from this day forward. You're not going to drift through life, hoping for clarity or confidence. You're going to build it by training your mind the same way you train anything else that matters, with patience, with repetition, with respect for the process. Because a strong mind isn't a gift, it's earned. And once you've built it, there's nothing in this world you can't handle. Number 12, think like your future self. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in your life is learning to think not like who you are today, but like the person you want to become. Most people get stuck because they keep thinking from their current circumstances. They make decisions based on where they are, not where they're going. And if you always think like your current self, you'll keep repeating the same results, the same routines, the same patterns. But what if you paused, looked ahead, and asked, how would my future self handle this? What would the more disciplined version of you do in this moment? What would the successful version of you choose when tempted to quit? What would the healthier, more confident, more focused you think, say, or act like right now? This isn't pretending, it's practicing. It's mental rehearsal. When you think like your future self, you're giving your brain a model to follow. You're shaping your current identity with future clarity. And that kind of thinking pulls you forward. It keeps you from settling. It reminds you that you're not just reacting to life, you're designing it. Start simple. Think of the future version of yourself, strong, consistent, peaceful, successful. Then bring that version into today's decisions. You're tired? What would the future you do? Hit snooze or show up anyway? You're frustrated? Would your future self react with anger or respond with patience? You're doubting yourself? Would the future version shrink or stand tall? The answers are already inside you. You just have to access them. And the more you practice this kind of thinking, the more you begin to shift your habits. Your standards rise. Your excuses start to fade because you're no longer making decisions based on temporary feelings. You're making them based on a long-term vision. This is how high performers think. They don't let present emotions sabotage future progress. They've trained themselves to stay connected to who they're becoming. And you can do the same. Every single day you get a choice. Think like your past, think like your present, or think like your future. Only one of those leads to growth. And remember, this version of you, the one you're working toward, it's not out of reach. It's built moment by moment, thought by thought, decision by decision. You don't just arrive there by accident. You build your way there with intention. So from now on, whenever you're faced with a challenge, a choice, or a moment of doubt, pause and think like your future self. Let that vision guide your next step. Because if you can think like the person you want to become, eventually, you'll become them, not someday, starting today. So here we are. You've just walked through the most powerful truth about personal transformation. You become what you think about. Not by chance, not by luck, not by accident, but by intention, by design. Your thoughts are not small. They are not passive. They are the architects of your future. Every chapter you've heard wasn't just information, it was instruction. It was a reminder that your dominant thoughts shape your direction, that you have the power to plant better beliefs, to think bigger, to lean into courage, to protect your mind, to act boldly, and to visualize a life worth living. And most importantly, to build the habit of thinking like the person you want to become, not just once, but every single day. Maybe your past has been full of fear. Maybe your habits haven't always served you. Maybe your current circumstances are screaming limitations. But none of that has to define you anymore. Because the moment you take back control of your thinking, you begin the process of taking back control of your life. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need a perfect plan. What you need is a shift, a decision, a renewed commitment to feed your mind with thoughts that build you, not break you. Because everything begins with a thought. Success, failure, growth, stagnation. It all starts there. The people who live with clarity, confidence, and conviction, they're not just lucky, they're intentional. They've trained their minds. And now so can you. From this day forward, be the one who thinks on purpose, who speaks with purpose, who lives with purpose. Stop waiting for things to change. Start changing the way you think, and watch how your world begins to follow. Because your life will never rise higher than the level of your thinking. But once your thoughts begin to rise, your entire life comes with it. You become what you think about. So think powerfully, think wisely, and most of all, think like the person you were always meant to be.